Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon are usually considered the hardest baseline games in the franchise, and this ROM hack, Photonic Sun by BuffelSaft, takes the difficulty even further. The game has improved trainer AI, opponents with perfect EVs and IVs, and some boss fights that are almost impossible to beat. So the rules for this run is as follows. I can only use grass type Pokemon, and I can't use items in battle. The battle style must be on set mode, and I can't overlevel the next Totem or Kahuna's Ace Pokemon. I do have to preface by saying that this is not a Nuzlocke, so any Pokemon that dies, I could just use a revive on it. Instead, I'll establish what I call the Vigor Clause, which is that I could only use a Pokemon once every Totem and Kahuna fight. So, for example, if I use Rowlet against Totem Gumshoes, then I cannot use it again for Totem Mimikyu. The same rules apply for Kahuna battles. This is so that I could have variety in the Pokemon and strategies I use, given that I have access to every grass type in this game. Speaking of Rowlet, he is my starter for Alola. I name him Gravebuster and immediately lose to House Poplio because his Pichu used Charm on me. I think that already tells how hard this game is going to be. Heading south of Route 1, I catch Lilypad the Lotad and Clover the Seedot. With my 3 grass types, I face the first boss battle of the game. Elima in regular Ultra Sun is already difficult enough, but here he has 4 Pokemon including a bulky Porygon. But with Clover and Lilypad's newly evolved forms, they take out Elima's team with no problem. After beating Elima, I can catch Walnut the Surtwig and Snoopy the Chikorita. My current selection of starters are so quirky because I can't get either Dartrix or Grotto because of the level cap. But that also doesn't matter because, spoilers, Snoopy the Bayleaf solos Totem Gumshoes all by herself. With a combination of Leech Seed and Poison Powder, Snoopy outlives the 2 rodents like a true grass type that she is. Suck on that, Chikorita haters. Beating Totem Gumshoes gives me access to Melemele Meadow where I can get a few strong grass types, with a few being Marigold the Petalil, Sunshroom the Cottony, Garlic the Bulbasaur, Cattail the Hoppip, and Cherry Bomb the Badoo. After taking revenge on Hau, we're set to fight our first Kahuna battle. Hau leads with Hawlucha while I lead with Cattail. And immediately he baton passes into Crabrawler as I try to strength sap him. I switch in Cherry Bomb to get the one-shot with extra sensory and then Meta Knight comes in. I try to be cheeky here and get rid of its pure power with Worry Seed, but Psycho Cut still does so much damage that I just had to switch Rosalia out. Hoppip comes in to poison Meditite and then Strength Sap to weaken him, but eventually Meditite uses Shadow Ball to hit me on the special side instead. After failed attempts to take Meditite out, Hala withdraws him and switches Hawlucha back in. I send in Sunshroom to deal with Hawlucha, but then he baton passes again to Makuhita, like bruh, pick a stroke. I set a Leech Seed on Makuhita and switch back to Cattail, and after getting his health low enough, Cattail finishes Makuhita off with a Bullet Seed. Then comes in Hawlucha to once again baton pass to Meditite. After taking a strong fake out, Cattail takes the Pilates Boy with a Bullet Seed. Hawlucha comes in again and tries to take the kill with Aerial Ace, but Cattail survives and heals back with a Strength Sap. Yeah, you guessed it, Hawlucha baton passes again, this time into Stuffle, who gets hit with another Strength Sap. I switch in Snoopy to deal with the Stuffed Toy with a classic Poison Powder and Leech Seed combo, and eventually Stuffle falls to residual damage. Then comes Scraggy. Snoopy sets a Leech Seed and Reflect, and Marigold comes in to take the kill with quad-effective Fairy Winds. Finally, the Hawlucha comes in last, and with no more allies to run away to...
Fight back! Fight back! Fight back! Fight back!
That was a very long and tedious fight, but I also guess it perfectly shows how grass types are able to pull through in the early game, mainly just by being very annoying to fight against. After beating Hala, we can now travel to Akala Island where we get amazing friends in Squash the Shroomish and Gatling P the Trico. Here, we also face the first Gladion fight. He starts off with a Lucario, which gets smacked by a Technician Mach Punch. It was actually a Zorua in disguise. Then in comes Golbat. I switch in Snoopy to set up a Reflect, and then eventually she dies to an Aerial Ace. I then send in Cherry Bomb, who 2-shots Golbat with an extra sensory after taking a strong Aerial Ace. Type Null comes in and gets decently damaged by Mega Drains before taking Rosalia out with U-turn. This gives me a free switch into Squash, who takes out both Lucario and Type Null with Mach Punch apiece. After beating Gladion, we have access to a Pokemart that sells most of the evolution stones, so I do the honors and evolve my stone Pokemon into their final forms. This Power Surge is pretty important because I'm gonna need a lot of stronger Pokemon against Totem Araquanid, who is part Bug type and carries a strong Ice type move in Aurora Beam. So, I lead off with Sunshroom, then now Whimsicott to use a move that you've never seen before.
Are you a Nicki fan?
What? Am I a Nicki fan? Pull up in the Sri Lanka. What? Y'all want What?
If you didn't know, which I don't blame you, Confide lowers the special attack of Totem Araquanid so its Aurora Beams and Giga Boosted Bubble Beams won't do that much damage. Afterwards, Sunshroom uses Charm on the Totemon so its Leech Lives won't be a threat either. After crippling both Pokemon with a combination of Leech Seed, Charm, Cotton Spore, and Confide, Whimsicott finally exits stage right for Blover, the now Shift Crate, to come in. With the Flynium Z I picked up from 10 Carat Hill, Blover decimates the Totem Araquanid with a Z boosted Air Slash. She then picks off the remaining Goldeen with a Leaf Blade. After beating Totem Araquanid, we have access to the Battle Royale, which in this game sells a lot of amazing items like the Life Orb, the Rocky Helmet, and the Choice items in exchange for BP. With strong moves like Giga Drain, Stealth Rock, and Trick locked behind BP as well, I spend a few hours of my time surfing back and forth from Akala to Melemele for a few battle points. Additionally, I also get a few more grassy friends, being Torch with the Eevee, Stork with the Sewaddle, and Solnut with the Ferroseed. Spoiler alert, he's like the best Pokemon in this run. But unfortunately for Ferroseed, he's not really gonna be doing much against the Totem Marowak fight. I start that fight with Torch with the Leafeon. I can't stress this enough, but the amount of grass types who can learn Rain Dance are so few and far between, so Leafeon learning Rain Dance as an Eevee is actually a valuable asset. But even with the Rain Up, Marowak deals so much damage to Leafeon, and then he calls in his ally Salazzle, who's just as dangerous to my team. Torchwood weakens Marowak with a Charm before he goes down to Salazzle's Venoshock. The reason why Rain is so important here is because Ludicolo's Swift Swim abilities allows her to outspeed both opponents and take them down with Rain boosted Water Pulses. If you think Totem Marowak is gonna be hard for me, then I'm sorry. But I guess for consolation, it's actually Totem Lurantis that gave me the most trouble. Lurantis plays around the sun with her partner Ninetales. With sun boosted Water Balls and Flamethrowers, they can kill my grass type roster twice over. Fortunately, the sun also activates my army of Chlorophyll Pokemon, with most of which have a good matchup into Lurantis. So, I lead with P-Shooter the Victory Bell. Here I actually expected Lurantis to use Protect to call in her ally, so I do her the favor and set up the sun myself. But then she does this. Well, that's embarrassing. I send out Starfruit the Levani to outspeed and deal good damage with X-Scissor before he goes down to a Flamethrower. And then Gatling P the Sceptile enters to take the kill with a hidden power fight. Sceptile in this ROM has a solar power ability, so she does a lot of damage in the sun. Ninetale uses Disable on Sceptile, and I kinda forgot that I gave her the Choice Scarf, so Sceptile uses Struggles and goes down to Flamethrower. Sorry. Catil the Jumpluff comes into Acrobatics the Ninetales but is shy of the kill, so she gets taken down by Flamethrower as well. Then Squash finishes off the job with a priority Mach Punch. Totem Lurantis more like Totem Ninetales. With a Lush Jungle unlocked, I get access to some of the game changers in this run, two of which being Jalapeno the Servine and Sunflower the Sunburn. Yeah, you heard me right. This mon got buffed to high heavens, and you'll see later on why. Actually no, you'll see it right now. So, remember how I just said that the sun actually does me more good than harm? Well, Sunflora gets access to Drought in this game, which allows for my whole Chlorophyll army to abuse. On top of this, she's also now part Fire type, which makes her deal damage back with the new moves she gets like Weather Ball, Overheat, and Earth Power. Yeah, whoever thought of the Sunflower buff, I need whatever you're on. Plumeria sends in Muck, who is pretty specially defensive, so it takes an Earth Power from Marigold. She then overkills Lillican with an quad effective Acid Downpour. Like, that was not necessary. Solar Power Sceptile comes in to take the kill on Muck and the incoming Gengar with Dragon Pulses, and Torterra deals with her remaining Toxapex. With all obstacles in Akala down, we're set to battle Kahuna Olivia. She leads with a Sandstream Gigalith, which I immediately get rid of with Rain Dance. Torchwood takes down Gigalith with 2 Leaf Blades as Olivia sends in Armaldo. There's really nothing much Torchwood can do to this, so he just weakens Armaldo with a Charm before he goes down to X-Scissor. Lilipad comes in safely to blast the Armaldo, damn this thing is hard to say, with Water Pulse, and then Olivia sends in Minior. Then she withdraws Minior for Cradily, who's like immune to Water Pulse, takes a Storm Drain. Like, okay, Smogon Queen. Lilipad is useless against this thing, so I send in Squash who gets hit with a Toxic. Squash takes down Cradily with the Technician Mach Punch and the Minior with the Technician Rock 2. Lycanroc survives on its Sash and counters Breloom with a, counter. With the rain gone, Lycanroc actually outspeeds my own team, so I have to play defense this time. Olivia heals Lycanroc and Ferrothorn nails a super effective Iron Head. But Lycanroc uses a super effective Fire Punch who nearly takes Tallnut out, but Iron Barbs kills her instead. The last Pokemon on her team is a non-sturdy Probopass, so with their Melon and Tsarina can come in and kill with a Stab Jump Kick. We then venture on to Aether Paradise where I encounter a Giga boosted Niligo, who gets destroyed by our Chlorophyll Orrery. Upon arriving in Mali City, Hao challenges us to a battle that also ends in a massacre via Marigold. The next totem is Togedemaru. Unfortunately for him, he only has physical contact moves, so Tallnut with Iron Barbs, Iron Defense, and Leech Seed can outlast the Sting and its mother. It's actually quite annoying that it kept missing bounds so that it doesn't take Iron Barbs damage, so it goes down much slower than how I wanted it to. Guzma, on the other hand, is more of a threat to our grass types because he uses some good bug types in his team. He starts off with his signature Golisopod, but I lead with Tallnut. We trade hazards, and Tallnut pops Golisopod's red card, which conveniently sends in Sunflower. Guzma withdraws Golisopod and sends in Scizor, who gets eviscerated by Sun Boosted Weather Ball. Pinsir comes in just to set a Swords Dance, so he also dies to a Weather Ball. Masquerade slices Sunflower with an Air Slash, so Catsail the Jumpluff does the same with Acrobatics. One Acrobatics isn't enough to kill the incoming Vikavolt, so Catsail takes some big damage from Thunderbolt. Then I switch to Tallnut to tank the first impression and finish him off with Snoopy instead. Totem Mimikyu is where I start to get creative with my strategies, and this is also where Pumpkin the Gorgeous makes her debut. I train her to be as physically defensive as she can, so she can do this.
Oh my god, what is that? Oh my god! What is that?
Mimikyu calls in her ally Chandelure, which Pumpkin tickles with a Shadow Sneak before she goes down. Our starter Gravebuster makes a return by also hitting Shandy with a Shadow Sneak, which isn't enough to kill, so he also goes down to Shadow Claw. Coffee Bean the Saucebug takes out the remainder of Chandelure's health with a Feint Attack, and since Mimikyu is locked into Shadow Claw, she literally can't do anything to Saucebug. But instead of hitting Mimikyu, I just watch her use Struggle, because it's funny, and just as a revenge on how much trouble she gave me as a kid. Mimikyu calls in her second ally in Jellicent, which Saucebug takes out with a Horn Leech, and then eventually Mimikyu takes itself out with Struggle. After beating Totem Mimikyu, we have to face a flurry of boss battles, all with teams of 6 and Mega Evolutions. To spare the long details, I led all the battles off with Stealth Rock from Ferrothorn and Sticky Web from Levani, which ensure that my Pokemon will go first if the opponent isn't levitating. Clomera has a Mega Beedrill that gets taken care of by Catsail, Guzma has a Mega Pinsir that gets squashed by Squash, and Gladion has a Mega Lucario that gets sliced by Tinted Lens Leaf Blade by Gravebuster. With all the trials and battles in Ula Ula done, we now have to face Kahuna Nanu. Nanu leads with Crocodile while I lead with Sunflower. He sets Stealth Rocks and Sunflower destroys him with Solar Beam. Nanu sends in his Honchkrow, so I send in my bulkiest physical wall, Tangrowth.
Oh! Oh my god!
Gatling P comes into revenge kill with Solar Power Life on Dragon Balls, and she also takes down the incoming Hydreigon, Drapion, and Persian before she goes down to her own recoil. I send in Melonpult who sets up the grassy terrain, and Nanu sends his Sableye. Sableye Mega Evolves and eats a pathetic Leaf Blade from Gogoat and sets up with Calm Mind instead. so I just switched to Starfruit to strike a choice band Leaf Blade that takes Sableye out in the grassy terrain. With Nanu defeated, our next stop is against the Aether Foundation. This stretch of the game takes so long because it's filled with trainers with teams of 3 to 5 Pokemon, all with optimized stats and movesets. We fight Faba, who has a Mega Slowbro, I guess. There's also a part of this game where you're faced with 3 scientists back to back with very annoying Pokemon, and no joke, I wiped out against them because I didn't know what to prepare against. I mean, it's this stupid EVO Life Porygon too. So the next time I saw them, I brought out Whimsicott and Ferrothorn to make this Porygon 2's life as painful as possible. After a series of double battles with Hao and Gladion, we finally reached Guzma for his final fight. Guzma's third fight is very scary because he uses the same tactics that makes this run even possible for me, which is stick webs. Luckily, I also have the perfect counter for that. He leads with Masquerain and I lead with Sunflower. Masquerain sets up the webs that I was talking about, and Sunflower takes Masquerain to its stash. Masquerain then air slashes Sunflower back to its ground. Jalapeno to Serperior makes her debut by gaining a speed boost from the webs and takes down Masquerain with a Leaf Storm. Golisopod comes in to threaten with First Impression, but Jalapeno protects to block that and uses Leaf Storms to take it out while also maxing her special attack thanks to Contrary. And then she kills Guzma's entire team with Hidden Power Fires and Dragon Pulses. After playing a button simulator, we finally get to face Lusamine. She leads with Clefable and I lead with Tallnut. We trade Stealth Rocks and I switch Tallnut for Sunshroom. Because Tallnut baited a Fire type move, I used that to Encore Clefable into Mystical Fire and switch to Jalapeno. Jalapeno fires off Leaf Storms as Lusamine switches Clefable into Lilligant, who gets taken out by Hidden Power Fire instead. Jalapeno then takes out the incoming Milotic, Beware, and Clefable before she gets stopped by Miss Mages. Sunflower revenge kills the Miss Mages with a Weather Ball, and with the Sun, Starfruit outspeeds and takes out Mega Absol with X-Scissor. After another round of A Button Simulator, we reach Poni Island. The traders in Poni Island are actually very tough because a lot of them have Z moves and Mega Evolution, so at this point of the game, I really have to bring in my best Pokemon. After we witness My Little Pony become a Kahuna, we venture into Vast Pony Canyon to advance the story. Here is also where I find the bane of my existence. This veteran has a Talonflame with Gale Wings, so it was able to cripple my whole team and cause me to have my second win. After taking revenge on this stupid bird, I finally reached Totem Komodo. My strat for Totem Komodo is just hit it with Clear Smog. It doesn't have any setup moves to raise its stats again, so it's just a regular Pokemon and a 2 against 1. Totem Komodo calls in Dragonite, who takes Amoonguss out with a wing attack, but also ruins his own multiscale because of Puffshoom's Rocky Helmet. After Amoonguss goes down, Sunflower sets up the Sun for Marigold to take down the Dragonite with a Moonblast, and Jalapeno to come and finish the totem off with Draco Meteor. After the third round of A Button Simulator, we face off with the Necrozma Lion thing, who gets taken down by Cherry Bomb. Now this is the part of the game where everything feels unfairly difficult. The fight against Ultra Necrozma was already broken in the base game, but Photonic's Sun somehow made the battle even more impossible by making it level 100, giving it +2 in every stat, and giving it a partner in a Canadel who can boost its own stats with Beast Boost. That said, with all the drama in Alola done, we can finally start Mina's trial by challenging her to a battle. I start the battle with Ferrothorn's Rocks and Levani's Webs, surprise surprise, and Cherry Bomb comes in to outspeed and take out half of Mina's team with Sludge Bombs and the bulky Gardevoir with Acid Downpour. Chansey was a problem because I forgot to bring a physical attacker, so after a stall match with Tallnut, Tallnut wins and takes out the remaining Mega Altaria with super effective Iron Heads. The whole of Mina's trial is just another boss rush, but this time with the other trial captains. Lima's fight starts off with Smeargle, who only knows status moves, so it gets shut down by Taunt from Jalapeno. Starfruit enters to set the webs and kills Smeargle with Leaf Blade. Solo comes in, so I switch Cherry Bomb to take the incoming Brave Bird to have a safe switch into Squash. Squash kills Swellow with a Mach Punch and Snorlax with a close combat. Oranguru comes in, so Squash puts it to sleep before passing the baton to Starfruit, only for Oranguru to immediately wake up and take him out with a Psychic. Squash Sports Oranguru again and takes the monkey out himself with close combat and Mach Punch. Chinchino comes into U-turn into Lopunny, who takes a close combat to the face. By Mega. Wintermelon then comes in to take Chinchino out with a high jump kick. We then do a grass on grass crime with Malo with Chlorophyll Venusaur and the same crime against Kiawe with Swiftswing Ludicolo. The yellow guy's a bit annoying, but same story happens to him with Chlorophyll Lilligant. None of them just gives us the last battle needed, and it's time to take on Totem Ribombee. Just like Ultra Necrozma, this fight is nightmarishly hard because Ribombee starts off with +3 in all of its stats and also has annoying partners like Pelipper and Blissey. That said, this is also my favorite strategy that I was able to pull off. I start with Planter the Trevenant. Ribombee sets up a Quiver Dance because apparently +3 is not enough, so I set up Trick Room! Ribombee calls in her ally Pelipper and I use Forest Curse on Ribombee, giving it a grass type. Lantern survives Pelipper's Hurricane and Ribombee sets up the +6 with Quiver Dance because why the hell not, so I gave Pelipper the grass types for shits and giggles. This is all set up so Umbrella Leaf, the Tropius, can kill Ribombee with an Aerolate boosted, Choice Specs boosted Hyper Beam for quad effective damage. And he also does the same to Pelipper. This is literally the only time in your life that you will see Tropius make this play. Unlike Totem Ribombee, the last Kahuna fight was a lot less interesting. She starts off with Hippowdon and I lead with Jalapeno. Jalapeno taunts Mudeng's mom and removes the sand with Sunide. She then one-shots Hippowdon with Leaf Storm, as well as the rest of her team.
Another one, thank you. Another one, thank you. Another one, thank you. Another one, thank you.
With all the trials done and Kahuns defeated, it's time to challenge the Elite Four and become the first champion of Alola. But before that, one last obstacle comes in our way in the form of Gladion. He leads with Crobat and I lead with Pumpkin. Pumpkin tricks Crobat a Flame Orb while taking away its White Herb, so his acrobatics is permanently muted for the entire game. This allows Walnut the Torterra to come in, set up a Shell Smash, and decimate Gladion's entire team with Rock Head, Wood Hammers, and Earthquake. The trainers at Mount Lanakila aren't as deadly as the vast Poni Canyon, so we make our way to the Pokemon League without any wipes. The Elite Four in this game have some bullshit added to their game, with a few scary ones including Kahili's Flying types, Acerolas bulky Ghosts, and House Mega Supplements. Because of this, I had to carefully choose which pool of Pokemon would be the best suited for the 5 battles. And this is the final team I was able to come up with. First is Tallnut the Ferrothorn. I don't think he needs an explanation, it's Ferrothorn. Second is Starfruit the Levani. Sticky Webs is essential for my plans in this Elite Four, but also Levani gets some neat tools like screens and String Shot that make him even more versatile as a support. Then next is Pumpkin the Gorgeized. She's a pretty recent addition, but is essential because of one certain move. Now that we have our defensive backbone covered, let's talk about offense. The fourth member is Jalapeno the Superior. With contrary Draco Meteor and Leaf Storm, she's easily the strongest standalone member of my team. On top of this, she also has other utility moves like Taunt, Screens, and Glare if ever I need her to play as a support. Then, Lilipad the Ludicolo makes her return. Rain and Swift Swim is needed to outspeed threats not affected by webs. And her arsenal of Surf, Ice Beam, and now Weather Ball will be useful for very strong offense. And of course, Lilipad won't be complete without her rain-setting bestie, Cherry Bomb the Roserade. He's one of the few grasses that can learn Rain Dance, and with access to Weather Ball, Roserade can dance in both Sun and Rain when I need him to. He also gets other options like Shadow Ball and Ice Beam, which are useful for certain matchups.
You're my new best friend!
With our final roster complete, we can now take on the Elite Four. First on the chopping block is Olivia, who is easily the easiest of the four. She leads with Sandstream Gigalith while I lead with Tallnut. We trade Stealth Rocks and Ferrothorn gets rid of the sand with Sunny Day. After doing his job, Ferrothorn does the favor and explodes all over Gigalith, giving a safe switch to Jalapeno. And from here, you already know the drill.
Don't make unnecessary journeys
Don't take risks on treacherous roads, and don't swim in the sea. Incredibly, people have been spotted in the water here in Blackrock and Salt Hill both today and yesterday.
Mullane is definitely more annoying because of his lead cleft key with Prankster. To deal with it, I lead with Jalapeno this time, who taunts the keychain, forcing it to use its only attacking move, Play Rough. I switch to Pumpkin to trick it with Choice Specs and explode all over it once she's done with her job. Firethorn sets up the rocks, and Levani sets up the sticky webs and the sun with a heat rock. Cherry Bomb comes in and bombs all over his team with sun boosted weather balls. Metagross is unaffected by webs thanks to Clear Body and Mega Evolves, but misses Sand Headbutt anyway, so he also gets eviscerated by Cherry Bomb. Kahili and her birds are easily the scariest matchup to my plans, but she also has a very exploitable lead in Skarmory. Pumpkin tricks the bird with a Flame Orb, getting rid of the red card as she gets sent away by Whirlwind. Jalapeno conveniently gets sent in, so she taunts Skarmory, allowing Tallnut to set up the rocks and explode on it. Cherry Bomb comes in to set the ring as Kahili heals Skarmory with a full restore, only to remain burned because of the Flame Orb. I switched to Serperior because I actually don't know why, as Skarmory, Whirlwinds, and Pumpkin. It works out well because Pumpkin can just explode to send in Lilipad safely. With Swift Swim and Choice Specs, Ludicolo decimates Kahili's team with rain-boosted weather balls. Fortunately for Kahili, the rain stops as she sends in her Pidgeot.
Ariana, what are you doing here?
Pidgeot Mega Evolves and takes down Roserade on the switch with a Hurricane. Levani comes in to set up a Choice Scarf light screen before he also gets blasted by a Hurricane. With the light screen, Lilipad is able to take a Hurricane and retaliate with an Ice Beam through Confusion. Acerola is definitely the most interesting fight because it doesn't involve me sweeping her entire team with a single move. Unlike the others, Acerola leads with her Mega Evolution and Baynet, but Ferrothorn handles it easily with Leech Seed, Iron Barbs, and Iron Head. Chandelure comes in and whiffs a Fire Blast, but Ferrothorn does her the favor anyway to take himself out with Explosion. Starfoot comes in to set the webs on the light screen with a held Focus Sash before getting killed by Fire Blasts. Chandelure whiffs another Fire Blast on Lilipad, so she's able to drown the Chandelier with Surf. Then comes Frostlass to threaten with Freeze Dry, so I switch to Pumpkin, who's now timed to deal damage. After that adorable performance, Cherry Bomb deals a few Shadow Balls to Frostlass before it finally goes down. Delmice enters with an Assault Vest, so I had to slap Ghostium Z on Roserade, which still isn't enough for the kill, leaving her very damaged by Anchor Shot. The same story is for Palossand, who barely survives on Energy Ball before the Sandcastle takes Cherry Bomb out. Lilipad comes into revenge kill with Surf, and with a few neutral blows, she leaves Mimikyu damaged enough for Jalapeno to take out with Leaf Storm. With the Elite Four done, we finally challenge Hao for a duel before the throne. As a final battle, Hao is certainly no pushover with scary mons like Mamoswine, Darmanitan, and Salamence. He leads with Mamoswine as I lead with Pumpkin the Gorgeized. Pumpkin does one last magic trick and cripples Mamoswine with her iconic Flame Orb. She then rests in peace as she explodes on the swine. Starfruit the Levani arrives to set up the final webs of the run before she gets taken out by Mamoswine as well. Here's where Jalapeno enters the field. Hao heals his Mamoswine with a full restore, but Jalapeno one-shots it anyway with a Leaf Storm. And in true superior fashion, she annihilates Hao's entire team by summoning natural disasters all over them.
Another one, thank you. Another one, thank you. Another one, thank you.
Unfortunately, Salamence comes into Mega Evolve and take Jalapeno out of the Dragon Claw. Cherry Bomb the Rosary comes in and dances one more time with a Choice Scarf Rain Dance before she exits stage right from a double edge. All this setup is for Lilipad and Ludicolo to outspeed and hit Mega Salamence with a Blizzard boosted Sub-Zero Slammer for probably the overkill. And that's how I beat Photonic Sun with only grass types. It was fun. I really don't know what else to say. I'll probably try other difficult ROM hacks with just grass types. Hopefully they don't have a broken Sunflora with Drought as well. Subscribe!